I I thought that this was a very high-level basketball game, first of all, and, I mean, credit to Oklahoma State. They were really, really good, but it didn't surprise me. It may have surprised everybody watching that hadn't seen them play, but I think from a player perspective and a coach perspective, nothing that they did today surprised me because of what we'd seen on film and what we knew of their returners. So, I mean, I think they're a really good basketball team, first of all, and we were very, very fortunate to win tonight because the majority of the night they outplayed us in some areas that we've got to be better in. But credit to our players that they didn't panic. They didn't kind of allow anybody in the huddles to get down or get disconnected. I thought we did a little bit of that in the first half, but I thought as the game went along in the second half, they got actually more connected and just dug their heels in. That's about all I can say. They just dug their heels in and found a way to win, and I'm proud of them.
How big is this for your team to face some adversity like this and come back and get the win? I'm sure confidence hasn't been an issue all year, but is it a boost to an already confident team?
I think so. I think that if this wasn't a good team and we just messed around and came back and won, I'm not sure that it would mean as much to them, but I think they know that they just beat a really good team. And I do think that there were some critical moments at the end of the game that, maybe we didn't handle those same moments very well in the Tennessee game. Maybe we didn't execute things. Maybe people didn't make plays in that game, or we just haven't been in those situations. So for us to be in those and make the plays that we did, I would think would help us be more confident the next time we get to that point.
Getting down the stretch, it seems like there were a lot of turnovers or miscommunication. Was it anxiety? Was it just being out of sync? Or what was attributed to the turnovers late in the half?
I don't know, because some of them, they just, sometimes you just look at some plays and just go, I don't know what we were doing there. Or, one time Ariel made a great pass to Brooke and it went through her hands. And, things just happen. And, I'm sure they would say the same thing about a few of their plays. It was a competitive game, and maybe anxiety or just plays. It wasn't overly filled with turnovers. But, yes, some of them were critical. But it was actually a pretty clean game, really. If you look at the fouls and the turnovers, it was a very clean game. High shooting percentages. That's a pretty clean game from an offensive perspective. I don't know what either one of us would say about our defense.
Lashann, their coach was here just now, and he said you've always had the tools. He said the confidence in our eyes is different this year. Can you amplify what he said and how much confidence that you've gained over the last year?
I would say it was more about trusting my work more, trusting what my teammates and the coaches were saying, and how they prepared us for the games. And I would just say it was like kind of forcing myself to be mentally tougher for the team, because I knew that I kind of had to do it for the seniors, because they're about to leave us soon. So trying to give them all I have. So.
That being said, these last two games, start of conference play, you've been playing really, really great. What's been different just this past week or so that you're feeling yourself so much?
I would say since I'm starting to focus more on defense, it kind of takes the pressure off me to perform more offensively, because, our team can score. We can play, so if I can play defense and help the team that way more than I can play offense, then I'll do that.
Building off of that, Coach, what do you see from Lashann that's allowed her to have success lately?
Well, I do think that what she's saying is true as far as just her putting the work in. I mean, it you can't cheat the work. And as her career has gone along, I'm not saying that she ever wasn't in the gym, but I do think that she worked on some different pieces of her game this summer. And again, I've said this several times, one of them is the three-point shot. And because her three-point shot is so much more productive this year and more consistent, it allows her to do other things. I mean, maybe she thinks the defensive role is helping her mentally. I mean, that's her answer, and I'm sure that's probably true. I do think that she has embraced that role, and she's done a pretty good job of it in our first 3 conference games for sure. She's guarded the other team's best guard all three games and done a heck of a job with it. But it's a team game, as she said, and I think that there are some teams now that we've opened up conference play that are trying to take away certain things, and I mean, you can kind of pick your poison as far as that's concerned. And I do think that what's happened with Lashann is she had a lot of openings tonight, and she had a lot of avenues to get to the rim, and she made great decisions. Why she is so much better is because if they're not open the next game, she's going to pass the ball. And her decision-making has gotten so much better, and she's so more confident with it that it just, I mean, she's a complete player now. No question about it.
Brooke, is this game a game that you might have lost earlier in your career? The way they were shooting and everything, and what possessed you guys to come back like you did in the final 5 minutes?
I'm not necessarily sure about what you're asking about the earlier years because I'm kind of focused just on this team, but that's Big 12 play. I mean, we knew this team was going to be great. I mean, they have all the tools, and so we just kind of had to follow the game plan, and we just kind of fed off the crowd. The crowd was great tonight, and then we fed off of each other, and we never let each other put our head down or say, hey, like, you know, no negative energy was in our huddle. So I think that and just feeding off the crowd and just kind of believing in each other got us through this game.
Coach, I think this is your 4th ranked opponent in the last 6 games. A tough stretch that you've been in for sure. Do you think that might have had some effect on trailing for so much of this game? Just kind of a little worn down?
I hope not, because we have a long way to go. No, I just think that they were good, and we weren't as good in the first half as far as doing some things that we normally do, one of them rebounding. I mean, they had 9 offensive rebounds in the first half, and they finished with 9. So there you have it. I mean, we just weren't exactly ready for the physicality that – and I mean, you have to remember that Jatari didn't play last year. So that was her first look at Kaylee Jensen, and you have to get on the floor with her to understand what that feels like to play a player of that caliber, of that physicality. And I thought that she kind of, as the game went along, Jatari started to feel more confident and started to get a feel for the game. And we have to kind of keep that in mind that she hasn't played. So every game, all these people are new to her. Even though she watched them play, it's different than getting out there on the floor with them. So I do think that, I mean, I said it in the media the other day before this game, and I said it just a few minutes ago. I mean, I don't. Oklahoma State's as good as anybody we've played, and they can score the ball, and they put a lot of pressure on you defensively because they can score in a lot of different ways. So, I mean, it was a great home win for us because it's going to be really tough to handle them in Stillwater. So I think it's one of those, we're in that situation where I'm glad that we were able to protect home court. And again, I agree with Brooke. The crowd was terrific, and it really helped us down the stretch.
Coach, you were down 6 at the 5-minute mark, the timeout in the 4th quarter. Did you say anything specific, or did any of the players say anything, you know, that you remembered now as being kind of a key thing?
I think we were just talking game plan. I mean, I don't think it was anything specific. I did notice them in the huddles even before we got in there. I could hear them, and it was all very productive. I mean, that's the one thing about this team. Because of our leadership, they don't get rattled and they don't get down. They don't allow each other to get down about what's going on. And I thought there was constant communication as far as that was concerned. And, you know, I mean, we had some kids come off the bench that had big moments. I thought Joyner was a little better tonight and looked a little bit more comfortable, and we'll continue to do that. You know, Jada gave us some good minutes, and Shug's shots were huge. Mm-hmm. She seemed a little off balance, too, in the first half, but I thought that her shots were big, but also I thought she did a pretty good job trying to stabilize the Miller kid, who is as good a freshman as I've seen so far. So, I mean, she had a great night, and we had a hard time slowing her down, and I thought just maybe giving her a different look and putting Shug on her maybe helped a little bit. So, get good minutes off the bench and productive minutes that were probably the difference in the game, to be honest with you.
Lashann, late in the fourth quarter, I saw you go down grimacing. Is it anything serious, or are you okay?
No, I just caught cramps. That's all. Just had to get rehydrated.
Karen, your coach said that they knew Lashann could get to the basket off the dribble. They wanted to stop it, but they couldn't tonight. It's really nothing new for people who watch your team, but can you talk about the quickness that these two guards have and their ability to just carve up defenses that may even be doing what they can to stop the two of them from being able to do what they want and slice them up?
I think they are quick. I mean, there's no question about it, but I think the improvement of decision making, even though, I mean, they would probably say they could have made better ones tonight, I do think that sometimes last year when we would get into the paint, we didn't necessarily make great decisions, and I do think that they're better better at penetrating with a purpose and understanding where to go with it when they don't have a layup. So again, it's decision making on their part, even though I'm sure we'll look at the film and see a lot better decisions we could have made. And again, when you can shoot the three and penetrate, I mean, that becomes a little bit more difficult to guard than if you can lay off of people, and I think that's the biggest difference. I mean, obviously everybody knows Brooke can shoot the three and drive. I think the difference is now we do have two people like that, and then you could add Shug in that also, which is a penetrator and a shooter. But last year, you know, they would go under screens on Lashann, and really she didn't have that penetrating ability. Her shot is just she's so much more confident with her shot that's sort of a problem now if you choose to do that. She hit a huge three. That's just an example of that she wouldn't have even had the confidence to take that shot last year.
You had a double-double tonight. When the team faces adversity like it did tonight, do you try to look to get your teammates more involved?
I think I always try to get my teammates involved just because I know we have scorers, like Lashann said, everywhere. So I know when I'm distributing the ball, I know it's either going in or our posts are going to get a rebound. And so I have really big confidence in my teammates and giving them the ball.
Brooke, you're the leader and the oldest player in this team. You've got a player here that's probably going to take your spot as far as what your duties now. What do you feel about the future after you leave, at least for next year?
I'm excited about the future. I mean, me and Ariel and Audrey, we're trying to make sure that we establish this leadership culture that needs to continue after we leave. And so I think right now our juniors are really stepping it up. I mean, Lashann, of course, and then behind the scenes is Jordan and Mide, and they've really grown. And so I think we're leaving it in good hands and just finishing the year off this year and letting them see what to do in big games and how to bring their team together, how to talk to their team. I think they're going to be great next year.
Lashann, how important, how vital has Brooke been in your development?
I would say very important because, I mean, there were times when I would get really down on myself, and she would be like in practice, if you're not going to give me all, then leave. And I'm like, okay. So, yeah, I mean, broken Ariel, and I mean, sometimes you just have to be that way. So, but yeah, I would say the seniors, they're really good leaders and great people to follow. So, trying to learn a little something from them and try to carry it on to next year.